Hello there. It's your girl Valerie Mason Chase, and welcome to another episode of Marriage Beyond the Breach. There was a little glitch there, but we have glitches every once in a while, but we will just go with the flow. So I want to thank anyone who is watching live or later. I appreciate the support, and a couple of things I want to talk about initially. I always forget to say this, and sometimes I remember at the very end. But if you haven't already done so, I would appreciate if you would subscribe, like, and share. Subscribe, like, and share. Marriage Beyond the Breach, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. I would appreciate all of that. Today happens to be February 1st. It is the first day of Black History Month. So, in honor of Black History Month, every Sunday that I am on, I'm going to be displaying the name of someone that you may or may not know. And I encourage you to look up that individual. And when you do, that old saying, each one teach one. Don't keep the information to yourself. Share it with someone, and especially share it with your children. So, we're going to be talking about children tonight. We're going to be talking about parenting. And I have two amazing people on tonight who are here for the very, very first time, both of them. And I am encouraging you all, especially anyone who's a regular here, to give a huge Marriage Beyond the Breach shout out to my guest on this evening. The first person I'm going to bring on, I came across an article that she wrote, and I was just so taken by it, and it resonated with me so deeply that I contacted her by email to ask if she would agree to appear on the podcast. And thank you, Lord, she said yes. So I am going to bring on none other than Nicole Johnson. Hey, Nicole.
Hi.
So happy to have you here with me tonight. I appreciate
For having
you,
me.
and I thank you for your yes.
Absolutely. I'm excited. Thanks for having me.
So I'm going to read Nicole's bio. So Nicole Johnson is a licensed professional counselor, certified clinical trauma professional, and a certified life coach. She holds a bachelor's in political science, a minor in communication, and two master's degrees in education and counseling. Nicole's book, Reparenting Your Inner Child, here it is, y'all, and we're going to talk some more about that later. Reparenting Your Inner Child was the number one release in developmental psychology and has been featured in major outlets like the New York Times, CNN, and Women's Health. Nicole frequently speaks at conferences, is featured on podcasts, and hosts workshops on trauma and reparenting annually. She is affectionately known as the Ginger Shrink on social media, where she reaches millions of people globally. Nicole's vision is for humanity to experience an improved future by healing a wounded past, and her commitment is to transforming lives with care and compassion. So, again, Nicole, welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you. Hi, everybody.
So, my next guest is she happens to be a colleague of mine over at Mending Hearts Behavioral Health and Family Services. And I've had quite a few of my colleagues on, and not for nothing. And I started to say, I'm not saying it, I'm not boasting because I serve there, but I am boasting because I serve there. At Mending Hearts Behavioral Health and Family Services, we have some of the most amazing clinicians. And I am going to bring on none other than Miss Savannah Bailey. Hey, Savannah.
Oh, thank you for having me.
And I'm going to read Savannah's bio. Savannah Bailey is a clinical mental health counseling intern at Mending Hearts Behavioral Health and Family Services. She is in her final semester of her master's program at Liberty University. Prior to pursuing her licensure as a professional counselor, Savannah worked in early childhood 10 years as a teacher and behavior. She's passionate about empowering parents at all ages and stages of parenthood and believes that supporting and strengthening a parent's emotional regulation and confidence is one of the most powerful ways to promote a child's well being. Savannah is married to her husband, Caleb, and is the mother to their wonderful 4-year-old son. When she's not spending time with her family, Savannah enjoys creating pottery at her local art studio and reading. And I also want to add that Savannah, and we're going to talk some more about this later on, but Savannah is facilitating a group on mindful parenting that is going to be starting next week. It's all virtual, it's all free, and you do not have to be a client of Mending Hearts in order to join that group. And we're going to be talking some more about that later. So, again, welcome, welcome, welcome to Savannah and Nicole. So, I want to get right in here. Oh, but first, let me give a shout out to Aileen. I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right, but anywho, thank you. It says Aileen Jeff 1. Thank you for watching. McMathis, Sandra, and whomever that is, Mirabelle, bro. I don't know. I'm probably jacking your name all up, but whoever you are, you know who you are. Thank you for. They're all saying hi to Nicole. So Nicole people, okay, and you probably
Hello.
know that you know who they are, but I apologize if I'm jacking up your name. So please just bear with me, okay? So I want to start with you, Nicole. So in your article, you named 2 core truths. One, that there is no perfect parents, and also children don't need one. So what do children need instead, and how can parents assess whether they're providing it or not?
Good question. I love talking on the concept of how we don't need a perfect parent, because I think it flies in the face of so many of us as parents who just want to be perfect, right? We think that would solve all the problems, but it's a problem in and of itself, right? Our children don't need to see a perfect parent. They need to see a human being.
Yes.
Right? And humans are messy and flawed and wounded and healing. I always think of it sort of like an art project. If I painted this beautiful piece of art that was perfect and showed it to my child, right, they might think that's amazing. But parenting is about passing on what we know. So imagine turning to that child and going, okay, your turn. Right? And they have they don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Right. They need to see a human being, be a human being, so that they have a model for what to do in life. It is not being flawed or not being perfect that wounds our children. And in fact, being perfect or pretending we're perfect can cause a whole bunch of problems in and of itself.
Yeah. And I think we can all agree, first of all, that there's no such thing as perfect, no such thing as perfection. Right. My goal is one of excellence, but excellence and perfection are not the same thing. And I think that we do ourselves a disservice when we try to be perfect in any area, including when it comes to parenting.
Yes, so, agreed. Not to mention the fact that, sorry, I mean,
no, go ahead.
Perfect is so subjective anyway. When we think about what a perfect parent looks like, we're largely actually basing that off of our past experiences, normally what not to do, or what we think should be done. And it has all these subjective influencing factors that aren't rooted necessarily in what's best or, you know, what's most helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just want to give a shout out to my husband, because when I don't, I hear about it later, y'all. So that's my husband, Frank. And he says, yeah, They want a parent's availability. Yeah, you're absolutely right, babe. You're absolutely right. So, Savannah, I want to ask you about mindfulness. Mindfulness is often misunderstood as calm all the time.
Yeah.
So, how do you help parents, especially in the group that you will be facilitating? How do you help them to understand mindfulness as awareness and repair rather than emotional perfection?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like we throw that word mindfulness around sort of like it's this state of zen and perfect peace. When really
Mm-hmm.
it's just staying in the moment and becoming curious without judgment. I'm not saying that's easy
Mm,
whatsoever, but it's
yes.
much easier than just keeping cool all the time. I think that a lot of our mental energy is either consumed by the past or the future, and mindfulness comes
Mm-hmm.
in as being in the here and the now. Um, it's
Mm-hmm.
being aware, not in total control. Um, I think when a parent
Yeah.
can just notice, I'm really overwhelmed right now. My tone was really sharp just then.
Mm-hmm.
I think that that moves them out of that automatic gear and gives them this choice of, okay, I notice. Now, how do I want to go forward? Um,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think that even when a parent can't regulate in that moment, being able to use mindfulness still matters afterward because you're talking about this repair, that time to be able to recognize later on, see what happened afterward and repair.
Yes.
That's the mindful response after dysregulation. So when a parent can come back and say, I was overwhelmed and I yelled, that wasn't your fault.
Mm,
I am working on calming my body right now. That's going to build
mhm.
accountability. It's going to build trust. And just like Nicole said, it's going to show them how do we paint that picture. I think
Yes,
that
yes.
it's about reinforcing imperfections happen and I'm still
Mhm,
here
mhm.
and it's still safe.
Yeah, that's really good. Now, I like what you said when you said to be curious without judgment. And sometimes I think, in our parenting, we might believe that we are expressing curiosity when we say, "Well, why did you do that?" I don't think that's curious. And I think that there's some judgment in there. And I think that beginning any question with the why automatically injects a level of judgment into the question. So, if not if, but when a parent is going to show up, and this could be for either one of you, when a parent is going to show up with curiosity, but without injecting judgment into that curiosity, what might that look like or how might that sound?
Savannah, you want to go first?
I can. Will you
Or
fill in the blanks?
okay, you go and then I'll
Okay.
go.
Yeah, I think that a lot of times approaching it from just
Mhm.
stating what you did see, right? Not the whys, not those more pointed things. Just say, "Hey,
Mm,
I noticed that you were in that drawer that we kind of try not to go in." Right? When that just happened
mhm,
to me earlier
mhm.
today. I noticed that you were in that drawer, and when I came by, you shut it really fast. What was going on
Mhm.
there? What was going through your head?
Mm,
I think that tone is huge, and I think that,
yeah.
trying to just stay non-judgmental toward the child, also towards yourself, because avoidance
It's
is
good.
kind of rooted in shame. When we judge ourselves after we snap or we ask that why question that sounded too judgmental. Now we're judging ourselves and how we're not doing right
Yeah.
as a parent. I think that that judgment leads to a lot of avoidance and the it causes a lack of repair.
Hmm. Hmm. Nicole, would you like to add something?
Yeah. So I think Savannah and I were sort of on the same page. And the reason I said, do you want to go first is I had a feeling you would give the tools, right, about how to use that language.
Mhm.
But something that I have found working with parents for a while now, and being a parent myself, is you can't give what you don't have,
Mm,
right? So learning that language is so important. But if 99% of the time you are talking to yourself different, you're going, why did I do that? Right? Then even trying to apply those tools can be very, very difficult. When we are trying to change the way we interact with our children, the first thing I tell parents to do is to reflect on how you interact with yourself, because we can't get what we don't have. And in a moment, especially when we're activated, we tend to default to that setting that we have inside of us. This is what I call parenting passed down. I talk about it in the book. And basically, we internalize and tend to treat ourselves the way that our caregivers treated us.
Yes.
And then we grow up and we become adults and we were like, I want to do better. I'm going to be better. And our love for our child drives us to try. But it's like being internally set to, this negative setting where we're critical and we're harsh and we're judgmental, and then we're trying to behavior our way into something different.
Yeah.
Whereas if we can heal that wound and change that internal setting, it becomes quite natural to then do it with others. We are busy as parents, so we tend to skip this work and we don't want to prioritize ourselves.
Yes.
I know I work with a lot of moms, and we struggle to even buy ourselves new clothes, let alone do something like prioritize our healing. But I find that when you address the root wound like that, it makes it so much easier and gives you more hope, because then in those moments where you forget and you talk to your child the way you talk to yourself, instead of shaming and judging yourself, you're more likely to catch it. And then refocus on what's going on internally, right? Because we're not going to get it right. Even with all the knowledge and all the healing in the world, we're not going to get it right 100% of the time. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, I so agree with what you just said. Just speaking on a personal level, I can recall when I became a mom, I had said that I didn't want to parent any kind of way that, like I was parented. And in my mind, I'm saying I'm purposing, I'm going to be different, I'm going to do it differently. But I ended up doing so many of the same things that my mother did. And then kicking myself in the behind for doing it. And what you said is so true. When we are in the throes of parenting, when our children are young, we're not taking time for ourselves. We're not doing that work. And that's why I think it is so, so crucial. And I applaud younger people now who are more engaged when it comes to mental and emotional health than people in my generation ever were. I was born in 1956, and nobody was thinking about how to be a parent. You got to heal your own inner wounds. Listen, no, we just kept going. We just went with the flow. So yeah, I think that is so, so true, that we end up doing the same thing if we're not intentional about doing something to avoid that. And that intentionality can include and should include some sort of counseling or groups or something, so that we can work through some of that stuff, so we don't end up, our children as adults don't end up having to reparent their inner child. I know my children probably have to reparent the hell out of their inner children right now. But we do the best we can with what we have at the time, because that's all any of us can do, right? I'm going to go to your book for a moment, Nicole. And the book is entitled Reparenting Your Inner Child: Healing Unresolved Childhood Trauma and Reclaiming Wholeness Through Self-Compassion. I'm going to read the very first chapter, because I just told Nicole a few minutes ago, when I read not the first chapter, the first paragraph. When I read the first paragraph, I had a moment, that scene where, I forget the actress's name, and Tom Cruise with his fine self comes walking in, and she, and he is saying all this and blah, 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 blah. And she says, "You had me at hello." Well, your book had me at this paragraph. So I'm going to take a moment to read it, and then I want you to talk about what reparenting is. Okay? So it says, "The healing journey is much like breathing. Long, slow breaths out, deep, full breaths in. Exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale. Breathe out pain, hurt, rage, sadness, sorrow, and grief. Breathe in light, love, peace, connection, healing, and happiness. There is a rhythmic, natural, inherent flow to the process, one that we seem to be subconsciously connected to, yet often not aware of. As young children, we intuitively participated in this process. Someone would take care, someone would take our toy, and we would freely cry and wail and exhale all of our frustration and fury. Then we would run into the arms of our caregiver and breathe in their comfort, assurance, validation, and love. Well, if we were lucky. Then, somehow along the way, we stopped participating in that process. Something happened that caused our breath to catch. A sucker punch came in from left field, knocking the wind right out of us, and we stopped breathing. Wow. That's just the first chapter, y'all. So I just want to encourage y'all to run, not walk, to get this book, Reparenting Your Inner Child. So, Nicole, if you can just talk for a moment, what does that mean? What is this reparenting thing all about?
I love talking about it because a lot of people have misconceptions on it, and it can sound a little like woo-woo to them, and they're not sure. And it's also been around a really long time. It's been around since like the 70s or so. Inner child stuff has been around since before that. But it's looked a lot of different ways. And so people are like, I don't know what this is about. And what I've found working primarily with adults with childhood trauma, who they themselves are parents and are trying to do it different, was initially it started, I used to tell my clients all the time, I'll use your kids against you, right? Like when they're struggling to be kind to themselves, I'll be like, okay, go talk to your kid that way. And they're like, oh my God, I would never. Right. So I always would tell them, I'll use your kids against you, because something about when we see our children, we lock into a level of patience and compassion and long suffering and love that maybe we don't have for a lot of other people. And I started out with thinking, how can I get my clients to feel this way about themselves? Right? They have it in them. They can do it for their kids. How can I get it to do them for themselves?
Yeah.
And that's where this concept, where I latched on to inner child work. So effectively, reparenting your inner child is a process of first understanding what wounded you in your childhood. And that's a big process in and of itself, because we all have different ideas about what is abusive and what is trauma and, you know, all sorts of things. So we got to do a lot of unpacking there. And then once we understand what wounded us, we understand how it's still influencing us so that we can begin the process of healing it. But instead of just continuing to treat yourself the way you have, or trying to just change your behavior or fill out another worksheet or something, I introduced this process of looking at the wounds you carry as wounded inner children, so that you can start to bring that same compassion and patience toward yourself. It's real easy to look at 40-year-old you and be like, why did you do that? You're such a failure. Yeah. It's real hard to look at a 4-year-old and say those same words. So it's a symbolic sort of practice of seeing the parts of yourself that maybe you judge or hold the most shame toward, and viewing them as a child who's just hurt, who needs all the things that our kids need, and learning to practice that. So you're parenting yourself, but it's reparenting because you're getting a redo, right? Since your parents already had their shot.
Wow.
That's the sort of long-winded answer of it.
Yeah, but it makes sense. It absolutely makes sense. And so when there's been trauma, let's say there's an adult they had some childhood trauma, and now as an adult, um, you recognize that there's some PTSD there. I know that sometimes we would go to certain therapeutic modalities like EMDR or IFS. How can the reparenting aspect be integrated into those therapeutic modalities?
Love it. So actually, it already is.
Mm-hmm.
I actually just completed a training that I'm providing to clinicians on this topic, basically showcasing that reparenting doesn't even need to be integrated into modalities. It's already there. We just often don't recognize it.
Mm-hmm.
A good example here is internal family systems,
Mm-hmm.
IFS.
Mm-hmm.
That work with your inner parts is reparenting, at its core. But something
Yes.
I point out to people to help them understand it or to simplify it is anytime that you are treating yourself different than the way you were taught to treat yourself, right? You are reparenting. So let's say you've always just thought you're a people pleaser and you just think you're a doormat.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Mm-hmm.
one day you realize, maybe from studying psychoeducation therapy, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
you realize, oh, maybe I'm actually having a trauma responsive reparenting or trauma responsive fawning.
Mm.
That moment right there of just looking at yourself in a slightly different light, seeking to understand yourself. We need to ask ourselves, did my parents do that? Did they stop to try to understand me? Did they ask those questions to try to get to the heart of what I was going
Yeah.
through? If not, then the second you do that, you're reparenting. You are treating yourself different than the way you were
Mm.
treated and taught to treat yourself.
Yeah.
So
That's good.
in things C yeah, so in things like CBT or EMDR, you are reflecting on experiences in new ways that are based in compassion or patience or self-love. And if you did not receive that as a child, you are reparenting yourself.
Yeah.
So it's everywhere. It's all around us. We just don't use that term.
We don't use the term. We're doing it, but we're not calling it that, even though we're actively engaging in that. That's really good. That's really good. And those who are viewing live, I just want to encourage any questions for either Nicole or Vanna. Feel free to put it there. If you want to share something about your own experience in terms of parenting or how you were parented and how that has impacted your adulthood and your adult relationships, because that's how we know that something is off usually, because our relationships get jacked up. So if you have any experience with that, feel free to put it in the chat. So, Savannah, I want to ask you this. So, how can a parent model emotional regulation without oversharing or without placing adult emotional burdens on a child?
Yeah. Wow, that's a good one. I think that it's definitely that key where you said without oversharing, right?
Mm-hmm.
When
Mm-hmm.
we're overwhelmed and we go to our child and we kind of turn it more into like a begging for forgiveness as opposed to a let's recognize what's happening right now.
Yeah.
I think walking into it and just name your emotion, recognize it, reflect
Mm-hmm.
objectively on the situation, and then
Mm-hmm.
finding a way to reconnect. So
Mm-hmm.
that could look as simple as mom feels really overwhelmed right now. Mom yelled, and that's not okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm here
Mm-hmm.
now. Let's take some deep breaths together.
Yeah.
So it's teaching, and it's
Mm-hmm.
teaching through modeling, through your own dysregulation. That does not mean you do not have the right to go take some steps away. A lot of times after that rupture, you need a little space. You
You
need a
need
little space.
space.
And, I don't want to
Yeah.
assume that everyone's in a place where they can necessarily get that. But
Mm-hmm.
taking a moment, doing deep breaths on your own, doing a grounding exercise amidst the chaos, or even if you can't even
Mm-hmm.
get out of this conversation right now, being able to pull that mindfulness of, let's name one thing going on in my body right now. I need to name one thing that's happening in my body right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, modeling it, and then also kind of putting words to what you're recognizing in them. So
Mm-hmm.
if they're angry, like, man, your shoulders look really high right now. Can we just maybe lower them a little bit? And just bringing some awareness and mindfulness to them without bringing that
Yes.
to them.
Yes. I like that because you are identifying the changes that you see in them, physically, but you're not you're not saying to them, oh, you must be angry, or you look angry right now, or why are you angry? So you're not naming that, but you are identifying what you see and inviting them into having that conversation.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
absolutely.
really good. I gotta say, I'm much better at that as a grandma than I much better at that as a grandma than I was as a mom. Yeah, and that's because I don't have those responsibilities for the grandchildren that I had with my own children. So I think if you could catch this early, and it could make a huge difference in the life of the parent and the life of the child as a child, and in the life of the child when they become an adult.
Mm.
I think it can definitely help a lot. Um, Savannah, I want to stay with you for a second. So, if a parent is already feeling overwhelmed, they already
Mm.
carry shame. How or how might a group setting become part of the healing and regulation process? How can a group help with that?
Yeah. Yeah, and it's actually one of the huge reasons why I got into counseling was, my own journey postpartum and finding a group of people. This wasn't
Mm,
therapy, it was a church group of moms who got together, and I realized
hmm
how freeing it is when those thoughts that you've had in your head that you just feel so awful about come out of somebody's mouth who is sitting right across from you. Those words where it's like,
hmm
nobody will ever love me if I say these things. They come out of
Yeah,
somebody else's mouth and you're like, "Oh, I'm not so alone." I sat as a teacher and as a behavior interventionist across from parents who just again and again that theme came up. I feel so alone. I thought I was the only one. No one
yeah.
understands. And that group setting, it's so freeing to be like, oh, it's not just me.
It's not
Um,
just me.
I think parenting's become really isolated. We,
Mm,
that over and over, I feel like all over you hear about this village and oh, the village isn't there anymore, and all of these things, and it's terrifying to not have a village to assure you that you know that path that you're walking on has been tread before. It feels so
yes.
and so I feel like groups, whether it's, if you can get to a therapy group, amazing. If you can't, a church group or some other parents on the PTA with you that you can just get together with and
hmm
try and say those
hmm
quiet parts out loud.
Yeah, that's good. That's really good. I like that. And you're right. We talk a lot about needing the village, but so many people don't have that community to call on anymore. And I think that that's it's a disservice to all of us, and especially to the children, because I know there's one thing. I'm a huge fan of Judge Judy. I know. Don't judge me. But I remember that there's one thing that she says all the time, that children need the widest possible, I don't know if she said group, but the widest possible experience in terms of loving on them.
Mm.
Because it should not be limited to just mom and dad. It's grandma, it's grandpa, it's auntie, it's uncle, it's cousins, it's the woman down the street, or another parent who maybe there could be an exchange. You need a day to yourself, so one mom keeps the children and they take turns. So that's part of having that village and that community. And I hope that we can get back to that in a larger way. I know that there are some people who are fortunate enough to have that, but not everybody does. Um, Someone just made a comment talking about the group, Savannah. She said that I wish I had a group when I first became a mom in 2008. Yeah,
Mm.
I was trying to show that, but I hit the wrong thing. Something else was coming up. You could see her comment
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
Yes. because groups can make a big difference. Because you can say things in a group of people who have had the same or similar experience that you can't necessarily say to someone on the outside, because
Right.
they may not understand.
Yeah.
And they may judge you. How could you say that? How could you be that way towards your own child? Well, that usually comes from someone who hasn't had a child yet.
Yep.
But someone who's had children, they can kind of understand. Oh, and she went on to say, problem was I was judging, being hard on myself, and thought I needed to be able to handle everything yourself.
Mm.
Yes,
Mhm.
that's exactly, Savannah, what you were speaking about. Because we need to know that whatever our experience is, whatever it is that we're going through, that we are, that there not only are individuals who have had the same or similar experience, and to use your words, Savannah, have walked the path before us, but there are people who are walking it now,
Yeah.
and that we need to connect with. Nicole, I want to come back to you for a moment. In your article, you cite research connected to Edward Tronick and the still face work. I'm putting that in air quotes. To
Yeah.
talk a bit about that still face experiment and how you translate that research into behavior change for parents.
Yeah. So that's if you're not familiar with that experiment,
Mm-hmm.
if you've got childhood trauma, I always give like a trigger warning if you go research it, because it can be really dysregulating to witness. But it was done quite a while ago, and they were wanting to assess the reaction of babies
Mm-hmm.
to like facial expressions and engagements with parents. So they put mom and baby in a room, typically below the age of 1. And they would interact, babies are cooing and mom's smiling back. And
Mm-hmm.
then mom would just like go still face, right? So quite literally still face, so like no facial
Yeah.
expression. And they watched to see what would happen with the
Mm-hmm.
baby.
Mm-hmm.
And it's heartbreaking,
Mm-hmm.
really, when you look at it. So they found that quickly the baby, even if they're just a couple months old, would notice that something was wrong and try to get the attention of mom. So maybe they'd smile, or they'd try cooing, or they would, move in some way, trying to get mom's attention. And if mom stayed non-reactive,
Yeah.
that baby would go into distress,
Mm-hmm.
right? They would
Mm-hmm.
become immediately dysregulated, and panicked, and would sort of collapse in on themselves. Thankfully, in the experiment, they would do repair, and it was short lived to help the child through it.
Yeah.
But, unfortunately, for lots of us out there, we had emotionally unavailable parents who, even if their face wasn't just stoic, they were emotionally unavailable. There was no reciprocity happening. There was no emotional connection present. This is particularly true with males,
Mm-hmm.
right? We start treating male children different at around the age of 2. We're expecting them to not be as emotional, and we tend to see men less emotional, particularly toward their male sons.
Mm-hmm.
And we see the results of that bearing out in society today, right? It can lead to a lot of problems. But one of the biggest issues that we see is that if a child is raised in that environment, parents are not emotionally present. They're not learning to have that emotional exchange, then we tend to shut down.
Mm-hmm.
And then let's fast forward and let's become a parent. And now you've got a screaming 2-year-old, or a 3-year-old having a temper tantrum in the store, or a
Mm-hmm.
5-year-old who's falling apart about something that happened at school. And we think we're magically suddenly going to be emotionally present and connected and available to them, when we've never had it modeled, and we've never lived that way with
Yeah.
ourselves. And that's why we see a lot of parents get very distressed in
Mm-hmm.
those moments. They just want their child to stop crying. They just need the tantrum to end, because they don't have the skills to cope, to be able to handle those situations. They had no one to co-regulate with them, so they have no idea how to co-regulate with their child. And
Yeah.
many people, of course, don't know this. This isn't common knowledge. We're not walking around with an understanding of these science experiments and what they showed. So
Right.
the result becomes shame, right? We judge
Mm-hmm.
ourselves. We collapse further on ourselves. We become more emotionally unavailable. to ourselves and to others because we feel like we're just failing as a parent. And something I say often is you're not failing, you're flailing, right? You're in a moment where you've been tossed in the sea and you don't know how to swim, right? What you expect is going to happen.
Yeah.
And so, like with many things, communication is a skill that we can learn. Parenting has skills that we can learn. Emotional, regulation is skills that we learn. It's
Yeah.
not a reflection of our personality or our failings.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a reflection of our education as a human on how to
Mm-hmm.
be human, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's good. That's good. So I want to talk for a moment about parenting while still healing. Oh, you know what? Before I do that, someone had a question. I want to put it up here um, so we can address that. So, Something Good Project is asking if parents commit to reparenting themselves, what changes do you most often see in their children over time?
Ooh, that's a great question
Mm-hmm.
because I love the answer. Uh, your children get crazier, they get louder, and they get more, and they get because they're safe. They're mentally and emotionally safe to be
Ah,
human, right? So there's that trend sort of going around on social media about bedroom kids who are now raising living room children. So if you were a bedroom kid growing up, you hid in your bedroom to avoid
mm-hmm.
your parents. And
Yeah.
then we grown up and became parents, and now we got these latchkey kids who are with us everywhere, following us into the bathroom and in the living room,
Mm,
crazy running around, and we're so dysregulated because we've never experienced this, but because we've created safety. And so when we do
mm,
the work to become safe inside of ourselves, safe with our
yeah.
thoughts and our emotions, we heal those wounds, we are so much more mindful, like what Savannah was describing. We're present and we're available. And when a child has a present and available parent, they are a wild child. They are free. They're climbing all over you, or they're, laughing as loud as they can because there's no concept of having to adjust for your
Wow.
wounds,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. Wow. You just described my grandson, Eli. So, so yeah, that is shifting for me. How that's shifting, that changes the lens through which I am seeing him, my own grandchild, because he is a wild child. Okay. And if my son Jonathan is watching, if him or my daughter-in-law Liz are watching, he can be a wild child. But yeah, that gives me a different perspective. Thank
Yeah.
you for that, Nicole. So part of his why, maybe not entirely, but part of it is because he has that sense of safety.
Yeah. Yep. We
Wow, I
see
gotta I
older
gotta think about
generations.
that.
Yeah, we see older generations struggle with this because the culture or society at the time was children are to be seen and not heard, and a calm, quiet child is an obedient, respectful one. But
Yes. Oh
humans
my
aren't like that.
goodness. Wow. And you know something? I'm just going to say this, okay? Because I just let me have this. I have a transparent moment here because when I have my husband and I, we have children, a 10-year-old, two 6-year-olds, and my wonderful Eli, who's 4. And sometimes when the 4 of them are here, because we like having them all here together, and there are certain behaviors that we don't see in Eli. But the minute his mom and dad walk into our home, he is all over the place. And my husband and I looking at each other, where the heck is this coming from? He wasn't acting like that just a few minutes ago. But now that I look at it through a different lens, it makes absolute sense because we have a different standard based on the fact that, I'll be 70 this year. My husband just turned, what are you saying, 68? He just turned 68. So, of course, generationally, we have different expectations of them than their parents do. Why? Wow, wow, wow. I had an aha moment just now. So
Love
yeah, I've got to talk to my husband and let him know. Listen, we've got to have a different expectation of you. This is my daughter-in-law. Listen, he gets that wild from the chase side. Wow. Okay, thank you. When it's all over, I'm going to have to sit with this for a while, and I'm going to have a conversation with my husband, and probably with Eli as well. Yeah. Thank you so much for that. Yeah. But anywho, I'm just a little discombobulated right now because I was having an internal moment. Really, a lot came up for me
Yeah.
just now, and it's almost making me a little sad. Because it's making me think that we have put um, expectations on him and a standard and maybe he didn't feel as safe to be wild, to be his wild, rambunctious, wonderful self with us as his grandparents. And that's I'm feeling it. Okay. I'm sorry for just staying here for a minute. Yeah. But anywho, I'm going to attempt to move on. Bear with
Can
me.
I say one thing about that? Do you mind if
Yeah,
I
go
jump?
ahead.
Because
Yeah,
I
go
feel like this
ahead. Yeah,
is
jump
a really important moment and I see this a lot with
in.
the parents I work with. When you have that aha and you realize like,
Mhm.
oh, that's what's going on, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
We do the best with what we know, and then when we know better, we do better, right? There's
Right,
the
right, right.
emotional reaction where
Yeah.
we either feel shame or we feel sadness or grief or sometimes
Yeah.
panic. Oh, I got to fix this right now. But there are
Mhm.
two really important things here that for anybody watching that's a parent, I think uh, you need to hear. And the first is it is okay for children to be exposed to lots of different environments, right? Mom
Mm.
and dad are the
Mhm.
hub. They are that safe space, but they can't go to school acting like that. And that school is going to be more
Well,
firm.
true.
It's
Yeah.
okay to learn how to have to sort of adapt to lots of different
Mhm.
environments, right? That's not
Mhm.
traumatizing the child.
Okay.
But the
'Cause
the
that's what I'm thinking now.
I know, and if I had a dime for every time I've had this conversation, right? So it's good. It's good for them to know, oh, there's different rules at grandma and grandpa's house than there is at home. There's nothing wrong,
Mm. Mhm.
right? The second
Yeah.
thing is, if you had to choose between having always gotten this right, this is kind of falling under that perfect category,
Yeah.
or having a real human moment where you learn something new and then you recalibrate and then you can
Yeah.
have a conversation and your grandchild gets to see what it's like to learn something new, take accountability, take responsibility, and then change. You've just
Mhm.
modeled being human. And that is what children need. They
Yeah.
need to see what to do when they learn something new, how to not shame themselves and shut down, but say, well, now that I know better, I'm going to do better. When
Mhm.
a
Mhm.
child is apologizing to, when they have an adult that they worship, your grandma, right? Say, I learned this, and I'm sorry, and I'm going to try this now. What do you think? Imagine if we
Yeah.
had
Yeah.
received that as children. Imagine
Oh,
if
yeah.
our
Yeah.
parents or grandparents had done that for us, right? That would have
Mhm.
been
Mhm.
a core moment. And now you get to give that to him. And that is far more priceless than having just gotten it right the whole time.
Okay. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. So I can show myself some grace. I can extend some grace to myself.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I just want to put a couple of comments up. Let me see. I don't want to get I'll try not to jack up names again. Alan on Jeff 1 says, I was well behaved, no safety, but making myself safe now. So that sounds like there's some reparenting of the
Mhm.
child, of the inner child going on. And something good project says, I was always the easy kid, the well-mannered one, because I knew what was expected. Okay. Um, Same for different personalities, someone said. So I want to talk a minute about, okay, and it's 7:53. I want to be respectful of your time. And Nicole, I think you kind of hit on one of the questions I had about if a parent feels that it's too late or they've caused too much damage. So what might hope look like for them, and what are some possible steps towards reconnection? And either or both of you can address that. If a parent thinks that
Nicole, would
it's
you mind
just too
starting?
late.
What was that, Savannah?
I said, did you want to start here?
Sure. Yeah. I kind of already answered part of that question in the what needs to happen internally first, in recognizing that it's never
Right.
too late, and that we can always repair rupture. There was actually a study done. I don't remember where or when. I'm bad at that stuff, but I talk about it in my next book. Actually, that was fun. But there was a study done about statute of limitations on repair between parent and child. Like, how long can you really go before repairing that wound before it like permanently damages the relationship? You know what they found? There's no statute of limitations. It could be 50 years and you can still repair that wound. Now, that does not mean 50 years heals the wound. It means that no matter how much time has gone on, you can repair a rupture. And so for the parents whose children are already grown or are older, or they were like, oh, it was a mess when they were younger. I understand the guilt or shame that can come with that, but there is no permanent, you can never repair that, right? Obviously, we can be impacted by things that alter and change us, but you can repair those ruptures and strengthen that relationship. And it doesn't matter how much time has passed. The ingredients we need are things like accountability, taking responsibility, change behavior, right? Those ingredients that, again, maybe we did not have modeled to us as children and we struggle with. And that's where things like reparenting comes in.
Okay. That's good.
Yeah.
Savannah, did you want to add anything to that?
You definitely hit the nail on the head there. Yes, you did. And it's funny because I thought of neuroplasticity when, this question came up, that the fact that we are throughout our entire lives creating new, and we're always capable to create new. And it's way easier when a kid is younger, but it's absolutely possible when they're older too. And so to say it's too late, especially, when you still have children in those childhood years. No, it is not. It absolutely is not too late. And it might be, it might be tougher as you go. But again, like we talked about, that shame cycle that leads to avoidance, stepping out of that's changing how your brain works, changing how your mind works, and trying to do something new. That shame avoid is a really tough cycle to get stuck in, but taking a step out of it and and taking that accountability, you're creating, it's easier. The more you do it, it gets easier and easier because your brain is going to learn, oh, this is okay. I'm okay. I did this and I'm okay.
Yeah. So Nicole, you got a big shout out from Ash. I don't know if that ASH stands for something or if it is someone's name, Ash.
No, so speaking of groups, ASH stands for the Academy of Self-Help. And in all the clinical work I do, this is probably the most satisfying work. It's an online virtual group that has like a book club component. I've taught there for years, and now I've done probably close to 100 teachings on every different topic. And then we have a support group that's all women, and a lot of moms. We get into parenting a lot, that meet once a week, where we chat everything, all topics really, but we end up getting into parenting a lot. So I'm not surprised some of the Ash ladies are here. So shout out.
Okay.
Yeah,
and Nicole, you know what? In all of our conversations via email back and forth, I never asked where you're located. What state are you in?
I'm in Idaho.
You're in Idaho. Wow. Because, I was thinking that I think this could be a good connection with you and Savannah, with Savannah
Yeah.
doing the mindfulness group and the groups that you do. And since everything is virtual, not everything, but a lot of things are virtual anyway, I think that could be a great connection.
Yeah.
I just want to put it out there in the
I have the
atmosphere.
same thought.
Oh, I've
And
already written down the website. Your book was placed on order
Yes.
in the waiting room.
So, Something Good Project had a question. So, one more question for Nicole. If a parent opened your book tonight, what chapter or concept would you most want them to apply tomorrow morning with their child?
good question. And this is probably not the answer you're looking for. But I would say, in regard to applying it with your child, no chapter. This book is for you. This book is for your inner child.
Right.
And I know the parent, it's hard to prioritize ourselves over our kids, but we have to practice that, because
Yeah.
when we heal, they heal. I mentioned earlier, I have another book coming out next spring on reparenting while parenting. This is specifically for parents wanting to heal
Oh,
while parenting. So to answer that question, I'd say read Reparenting Your Inner Child first for you, and then in a year get that book, and then we can talk what to do with your kid.
mm-hmm. Okay. And I am going to, okay, I have in the chat and put it up on the screen. This is Nicole's link tree. That's her link tree. You could find her. Um, just put in Nicole Johnson, or you could put in the Ginger Shrink and up her all of her social medias. This link tree link, links to her book, all of that will show up. But if you want everything in one place, you can go to the link tree and you can get everything there. Now, you said you have a book coming out. Do you have a launch date already for your book?
It's going to be spring of 27. So they're thinking March or April. We haven't finalized that yet. And in the meantime, I have
Okay.
on my website, I have a blog called Raised Twice. That's all things sort of parenting and reparenting. So if you're like, I don't want to wait till spring, there's going to be lots of discussion and conversation in there, or through my newsletter. I try and make myself really available. I'm one of those people that you can email and I'll email you back.
Okay. Yes. And someone else said yes, and get her book. Yes, we definitely want to talk about this book, Reparenting Your Inner Child. Um, Now, I got mine on Amazon, and I'm all about streams of income. So I don't know if there's a way that you get a larger portion of book sales than from Amazon. Is there another way other than Amazon that individuals can get your book? They can go to your link tree, or what should they do?
I tell people, first of all, get it the cheapest you can find it, wherever you find it, for the least expensive, because I get how things can be financially. But if you go to the New Harbinger site, that's the publication that published the book.
Yes.
I created a whole bunch of worksheets and resources that go along with the book that you can download for free on that site. So you can get the book there. It's the same price as on Amazon. And then you can get access to, if you're like I like to be organized, I like to worksheet it out, I like to write it out, you can get all those for free. Or I send them to people all the time. So, but whatever, wherever you can find it for least expensive, because, save money where you can.
Yes. And that is New Harbinger is the website. That's the same site where your article was published through them as well. The one that I read and I found you.
Yep.
Okay, so it's 8:02. I do want to wrap up, because I do try to stay in an hour, and it is so hard to do that. I'm not gonna lie. Most Sundays we go over by a bit. So Nicole, at the end of that particular article, you offer reflection questions. And so if you could give listeners one small today step to trade perfectionism for presence, what would it be and why?
Well, I'm a very big fan of questions. Anybody from Ash in here or my clients know that questions are one of, to me, they're the way to the core of things. So I would say a step you could take today is to ask yourself this question. What am I afraid of? And not like in that judgmental, like, what am I afraid of? But an honest reflection of what am I scared of, right? When it comes to not being perfect or letting yourself be human, and it doesn't matter where that question takes you, asking, what am I scared of, is going to bypass all of the what I should be doing or shouldn't be doing and get to the core of what's driving you, right? That's where normally we find our wounds, is in those answers to that question. We don't want to be like our mom, or we don't want our kid to feel the way we felt. That question can peel back onion layers that help you get to the root of why you do what you do and what you need to do to change it. So that would be my suggestion of where to start.
Okay. And Savannah, if a parent is listening today and they wanted to take one small step towards more mindful, present parenting, even before joining the group, what simple practice would you recommend and why?
Yeah, I think a practice that is just so simple, it isn't going to take a lot of your time, it's accessible, it's free, is just pausing once a day and taking time to notice what's happening inside of you without trying to change it. Noticing it and naming it. I'm feeling overwhelmed. My body feels tight. I feel like this is noticing that internal state, shifting out of autopilot, and then giving you space for choice on how you want to move forward.
Yes.
Okay. I love that.
Well, this has been amazing. And I tell you, that hour just went by far, far too quickly. So I just want to I'm going to put both of you ladies on notice, because I say this when I have a guest on and there is a great connection and there's a great conversation. You will be hearing from me again with another invitation. So don't lose my email if you see that coming from me, so you already will know what it's about. I want to thank you so much for being here on tonight. I want to thank you for everything that you've shared. It's been very, very enlightening. I don't know about anybody else, but I certainly learned something. And I would imagine that I am not the only one, because I don't consider myself to be unique in any way, shape, form, or fashion. So I think that it has been a very eye-opening, enlightening conversation. And I pray that everyone who listened live, or if you listen later, that there is some takeaway in regards to your children not needing performance. They don't need perfection. They just need your presence. And that can make all the difference in the world. So whoever is still here, if you would just give a huge thank you to both Nicole and Savannah. And again, Nicole Johnson, you could look her up you could Google her and you'll get all of the information. Savannah is with Mending Hearts Behavioral Health and Family Services. She is an intern there. And I just want to encourage anyone who was listening to join. Oh, the group. Yes. Talk about the group and how they can join the group. What do they need to do?
Sure. So it starts this Wednesday, February 4th. It is 8 weeks long, 1 hour a week, Wednesdays at 5 p.m. And it is fully virtual. It is fully free. You would just need to you can call or text. I'll put this number 609-248-6395.
Hold on. 609-248.
Yep. 6395. Or you can email info@mendingheartsbh.com. And I will go ahead. I get you registered. That Zoom link will get sent to you. We understand that we are asking parents to take an hour of their day at 5 o'clock. So we are not expecting perfection. We are not expecting a silent room. We are just hoping you can get anything out of it and are excited. If you can make it, we'd love to have you.
Yes, and I highly, highly recommend it. And as Savannah said, it's free, it's virtual. Listen, I don't know about y'all, but I love free 99. And I think a lot of I think a lot of parents do as well, because when you have children, there's very limited disposable income. So being able to attend a group like this, and you don't have to pay anything at all for it. All it takes is a phone call, or oh, can you be in the group if you're not in the same state? Since it's virtual, I would imagine, yes, someone is asking that question.
Ooh. Go ahead, shoot me a message on that number or that email, and I'm going to figure that out for you
Yeah.
tomorrow. I will figure that out, and I'll get back to you on that.
Okay. So who asked that question? It was Onyx. So here is the email address: info@mendingheartsbh.com, info@mendingheartsbh.com, and find out. But yeah, since it's virtual, I don't know. I don't want to
Yeah.
say it doesn't matter, because it's virtual and it's free. Now, if they were
It's
using
free, so
insurance,
it's
it
not
would
like
be a
there's an
different
insurance
story.
issue.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
no insurance issue. What time zone? It's Eastern time, so it's 5 p.m. Eastern time. We
Yep.
are in, well, New Jersey/PA. Mending Hearts is in New Jersey. I am in PA. I'm licensed in New Jersey because I'm right across the bridge. So it's Eastern time. And Miss Nicole is all the way out there in Idaho. I don't know how I didn't even think to ask you that. Idaho, that's the potato state, right?
Yeah, I'm not from here originally. I've kind of lived all around, but I've been here for a while now, so it's home.
Okay. Okay. So thank you guys again. Thank you all for watching, and tune in next week. Next week, our topic is the trap of assumed expectations. The trap of assumed expectations, because sometimes we do that in relationships. We have expectations that are up here but didn't come out of there, and then we hold our partner hostage to that. So I want to encourage you to come back again next week. Thank you, ladies, again. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I will